Hi, welcome back to another video. It is the end of the year, so that means it's time for my end of the year list. I do this every year. I think this is my third year doing this on the channel, so I'm going to continue doing these videos. I did say on my Instagram, if you guys haven't followed me on there, go ahead and do so. My Instagram will be in the description down below. But I said on my Instagram that I wasn't gonna do worst albums of 2023 or best and worst album covers of 2023 because I stayed away from bad albums. I don't know, I didn't have much time to really make a list of like the worst albums of the year, so I went ahead and skipped it. Same thing goes with worst and best album covers of the year, because this year there was only like 7 out of all the albums that I've listened to that had great album covers. The rest were just alright or not good, you know what I'm saying? So if I wasn't gonna do a best album covers of the year, then I wasn't gonna do the worst album covers of the year. So I skipped those completely. This year I will bring them back next year for sure. But yeah, I do want to talk about the most disappointing albums of the year, because these albums I was excited for but ended up being disappointing. Now, just because these albums are on the list, it doesn't mean these albums are bad. Like, it's not that I find them bad, it's just that I don't know, I was expecting something much more from these albums, and it just didn't really hit for me, in my opinion. And so yeah, this list is not in any order. I think I have like 7 albums here, so it's not really a top 10. It's just in random order. Without further ado, let's get into this list. The first album that I want to talk about is The Pink Tape by Uzi. Now, I consider myself an Uzi fan. I'm not a hardcore Uzi fan, but I consider myself an Uzi fan. Every time he drops, I am always there, day one, listening to the album. And when The Pink Tape dropped, it just was disappointing. Most of these songs were forgettable. There are some good songs on here, like some of his best songs are on here, but that's only a couple compared to the rest of the album. This is, in my opinion, by far his worst album he ever put out. And that is saying a lot, because Uzi, in reality, he doesn't have a bad album, you know what I'm saying? This one could be considered a bad album, although revisiting the album again, I quite enjoyed it more than I did when the album came out. I found some songs that I didn't like from the beginning enjoyable, but for the most part it was disappointing, and I think Uzi could do so much better. Porsches by Reason. Reason was actually on my list for the most anticipated albums of 2024. I mean, not 2024, of 2023. Yeah, it's sad to say that it did not live up to the hype. It did not live up to my expectations. His first album was good, and I was expecting something more from this album. This one, I could say that this one could have been on my worst albums of this year. It could have been, because I was expecting so much more from Reason that I would say this: there is not a single standout track on this album. Compare that to his debut album, which there were songs on there that were standout tracks that I still play till this day. This album, I don't see myself coming back to this album or to the songs that I liked off this album, which honestly weren't that many. It was only like 5 for some shit. Rocket Power by Quavo. This one I was excited for, because obviously this album was dedicated to Takeoff, and yeah, I'm always gonna be supporting the Migos. Like, if it's Offset, if it's Quavo, or Takeoff, I'm always going to be supporting them. So I was excited and I was hopeful. I did enjoy, for the most part, I enjoyed his debut album, Quavo Honcho. But the problem with that one is just the album had a lot of fillers. Like, a lot of songs that he could have easily taken out, and the album could have been so much better. Now, this album is pretty short compared to his last project, I believe. I think this one had like 18 songs, which honestly, it's good. You know, it would have been better if it had like 12 songs, but 18 is still not bad. I prefer Quavo when he does more of like the hooks, more melodic songs. I don't think he's the best when it comes to rapping. I think Offset is so much better than Quavo, but I don't know. I want more songs from Quavo that are like more like melodic. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. In my opinion, this album could have been so much better if he went that route instead of just rapping. I still enjoy the album though. Don't get me wrong. It's still a pretty good album. I want to say I like this album more than I like Offset's album, which brings me to Offset. Set It Off. This album is short compared to his last project, which again I applaud Offset for making an album that is short. You know, it gets straight to the point. The problem with this one is that as the album progresses, it gets worse and worse and worse. I still enjoy this album, especially revisiting the album. I found myself enjoying this project more than when it came out. I liked like the first 6 songs off this album, like the first 6 songs, and after that it just gets a bit boring. I still enjoyed the album. I see myself getting the CD for this one. One thing I like about Offset is his flow. His flow is crazy. He has one of the best flows in the rap game. Same thing goes with Shrim Life 4. This album is not bad. I still enjoyed it, especially revisiting the album again. But it could have been so much better. I still want a Sway Lee project. I feel like I would have been good with just a Sway Lee project instead of another Shrim Life album. The problem with this one is just, again, there isn't a standout track on here that I'll be like, oh, that's the song right there. You know what I'm saying? There's not a single song on here. Most of the songs are just alright. And yeah, the problem with most of these albums is that they're kind of forgettable. You know what I'm saying? This one, especially this one, because this one I completely forgot they dropped an album until I went back again, and then I saw that they dropped it. I was like, oh shit. I found it enjoyable, like, don't get me wrong, but it could have been much, much, much better. Nadie sabe lo que va a pasar mañana by Bad Bunny. Yeah, I know that Bad Bunny said that this album is for his true fans, but let's be honest. If you're a true fan, did you actually enjoy this album? Like, was it worth the hype? I know he announced this like a few days before the album dropped, or like I think a week before the album dropped. I was excited, especially after that one song, Un Preview. I thought that that's what the album was gonna sound like. It was not like that. But coming off of Un Verano Sin Ti, you think that he would put out like like a great album after that. I didn't really play this album all that much this year, you know, which is kind of disappointing, especially for such a big artist like Bad Bunny. Since Un Preview was the last track on the album, I'm guessing that's how the next album is gonna sound like. If that's how the next album is gonna sound like, then I can't wait. Last album is Que Termine by Amine and Kaytranada. The reason why I'm disappointed is because they hyped it up too much, but I think Amine said that this album was going to be the album of the summer. It wasn't. I didn't even play it all that much. Although now I enjoy it more than when I first listened to it. But it could have been better, especially since Amine puts out great albums. This one felt just a bit too flat for me. Most of the tracks are just okay at best, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that is all, guys, for today. Let me know what are your guys' most disappointing albums of the year, and yeah, stay tuned for the best songs of 2023 and the best albums of 2023. Until next time, though.